Welcome to the farm.
Welcome to the farm. I'm Justin, and today we're going to take some of these arms and we're going to attach them to this rock bucket. Let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to work on doing is laying out exactly where my 4 mounting points for the arms are going to end up so I can get the metal cleaned off. So right now the plan is to make the arms a foot wide, center to center, and we'll lay that out quick, grab a couple jack stands, and see what that spacing looks like. Okay, so obviously nothing on here is overly square yet. I mean, I kind of tried to line the supports up with the lines I had drawn already, but this is just to get an idea of the spacing, and I think I like the 1 foot spacing. I think it looks really good. I'll have enough room in here for my supports for my hydraulic cylinder to come down. So I think I'm happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and work on straightening those out and getting those tacked in. So when I go to weld my uprights on, I'm not going to have the arm on. I'm going to use a spacer because the space in between these 2 uprights is actually a 1/4 inch wider than what I made the arm, because I made the arm pivot point to match the pivot point on the hydraulic cylinder. So I have a 2-inch spacer in there to keep my 2-inch gap, and I will end up clamping that down to the bucket, making sure it's square. And then I also have a 2-inch spacer that I will put in between here to make sure that my supports are straight. So we got our first support tacked on. Let's see if we can get this spacer out without breaking our tacks. Yeah, pretty good. All right, I like it. Let's go ahead and get the next one on. So here's our first pivoting arm. That's pretty exciting. I like that. The pin was a little hard to get in and out, but I think once I bevel this side of the pin, it should help slide in, and then once I get this all welded down, I can hit it a little harder. I'm just worried about breaking the tacks off right now. But I really like how that's all fitting. So that's a pretty exciting step right here to get the first 2 pieces of the arm on. I do really like it a lot. Now these arms are going to get cut down to length at some point, and they'll have another piece coming down. That'll all be determined once we figure out how our cylinder is going to sit and how long it needs to reach out and that kind of stuff. So I think our next task is to work on finishing up our cylinder mounting brackets. So in a previous video, I started fabricating the cylinder mount brackets or supports, and I figured out my angles here on the bottom based on the rock bucket, and I drew out where I need to cut and drilled my first hole. Since then, I have cut another blank I need to get the bottom angle cut out, drill another hole, and I wasn't going to cut these right away, but now I'm thinking I'm going to, just because I want to be able to weld my sleeve in or tack it in at least. And if I like the way everything's set up, I don't want to have to cut it back off, pull it back out, cut stuff, grind, clean stuff up, put it back in, weld it back in again. So I think we're just going to fabricate these things up, and if they don't work right, then either we'll have to modify them or just scrap them and start over. But yeah, let's go ahead and start making these.
I'm going to start by drilling the hole in the second support, and I'm going to use the first support as a template to line that hole up. So with that hole drilled, I can go ahead and get these two blanks cut out and in the right shape. So I'm going to bring them over to my bandsaw. I got it set up in the vertical position right now, and that was one of the main things I liked about this bandsaw, is that it could run horizontal for just cutting off metal, or we could set it up in a vertical position like this to use for more intricate cuts. The last step is to head over to the bench grinder and the belt sander to clean up the cuts.
So the first two cylinder supports are built, and I think I'm ready to tack in some sleeves and see what it looks like on the bucket. Okay, so we got our two sleeves tacked on, we got our 2-inch spacer in there. I think we're ready to go see if we can't tack this onto the bucket and see what it looks like. Well, we got the first cylinder support tacked on. It's not straight or square or any of that stuff. It's just on for right now. Not a big deal with the cylinder. The cylinder's got play to it. It's got like a swivel in it. So once we figure out all the geometry, this will come back off to weld the sleeves on permanently, and then we'll get this straightened out and squared and all that good stuff and spacing correctly. But let's take the spacer out. Let's grab the cylinder and put it in here and see what it looks like. All right, well, I can already see a problem. The slope I have on my supports here, not going to work with the cylinder. The cylinder interferes with them. So that's going to need a redesign, but I don't think that's a horrible deal. I probably just won't be able to do the 3-inch stock. I'll have to go straight with a 2-inch back on an angle. Not the end of the world, but it's looking pretty cool. Liking that. Well, that's going to have to do it for this one. Hopefully in the next one we'll get this straightened out. We'll start putting some supports across here to try to figure out how long we need to make this arm and start extending the cylinder and getting all that geometry figured out. But just want to say thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.